whatever. I'm just gonna ask you about the Iranian. Ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Festivus, Ramadan Kareem, and happy everything to everyone. Been traveling and I'm back, and I have no idea what's been going on. So I thought I would get Obaid here to tell me previously on the last 7 days. How are you, Obaid?
I'm good. And yourself, Omar?
Thank you. I was in the middle. I was in the middle of the Red Sea between 4 countries, and my phone had no idea which country I'm in, so there is no network. So I avoided Twitter drama.
That's good. I just sit back and watch it. I just sit back and eat popcorn and watch other people have their drama. So
I came back with that, all of the Iranian protest stuff. I had no idea how did it even start. What was
okay? I mean, it started more as a protest, economic protest, right? So they were pissed off about you can't afford gas, you can't afford food, taxes are too high. You know, why are the elites not paying taxes? Why are we paying taxes? All this stuff. So it started off as an economic protest, and then it just more and more people started coming out, and it just morphed into protest against the Ayatollahs. I mean, people are chanting "Death to Khomeini."
This to Khomeini.
Protest against
directly in the street.
No. Well, not Khomeini, but Khamenei.
Khamenei. I always get the two confused. Khomeini is dead, and Khamenei is right after him. Sorry.
Yeah. And they're also calling for the death of Rouhani. And I mean, it kind of. I don't want to say this is what happened because it's going to be over. But they do the White Wednesday protests.
Yeah.
So you must have seen that picture of that woman holding up the white hijab. Okay, that was on the 27th, which was the last Wednesday before the protest started, and protest
probably before that Wednesday it was economic protest, but the Wednesday was coming anyways, so it started.
No. What I'm saying is that even the economic protest started on the 28th. The economic protest started on.
I thought you were saying it was economics, then it suddenly started shifting to fuck Islamic.
It was around the 29th to the 30th that it started shifting to more religious freedoms and get rid of they're like death to Islamists, death to reformers, death to extremists. They're like, no, we don't want this anymore.
And I am so glad that this to reformist is already included, not just.
Well, I mean, the reason was because if you look at the Green Revolution, when the Islamists, when the reformers came in, and they pushed the hardcore. They weren't reformers. They called themselves reformers, and they said they're gonna bring changes, but they haven't brought anything. So that's why they're saying that as well. Death to reformers, and I mean,
let me guess. What was the reaction from the reformers in the West? Are they saying they're not true reformers?
Oh no, they're just saying it's a tax coming from Saudi and the Jews and the U.S. and it's foreign. Foreign agents are responsible for this, but like I said, one thing, if anyone's watching this, check out what Armin Navabi's been doing. Check out Atheist.
I tried to watch some of the things Armin have been putting, and the protest sounds and looks insane. It reminded me so much of 25th of January 2011 over here. It looks like sometimes I feel like I know how they feel exactly, but without the hijab stuff. But the question is, the Green Revolution started dying down as, okay, guys, we're gonna reformer. Now there is no direct way for things to die down quietly without any demand, right?
No, because there's no the protests and everything. I think they're great. I think they're fantastic. These people are getting but there is no leadership. It's just started on the ground
as usual in the Middle East.
Yeah, it was just very organically that it grew up. Second thing, you have, and I know you don't care about the people in the West, and I don't blame you. But,
that's my reputation. I give up totally.
No, but I mean, I shouldn't say that you don't care, but I mean, you don't care what the leftists are going to do.
Yeah,
because The right wing
I
is the right
expect
wing.
the worst, by the way.
Yeah, the right wing is the right wing, and you're going to expect them to try to use you for their own benefits.
Yep.
Whereas the left wing, you would expect them to be on your side, but they're not. And I mean, even just this morning, I read something that Marco in France said, "Oh, we should start speaking with the leaders in Iran and try to placate them." It's like, why? Why are you placating the leaders? We'll work with the leadership in Iran, and it's like, no, they're not going to do anything for the people, and
Of course they're not.
and
The
they're
question is, sorry, one
Yeah.
question. I'm expecting leftist activists to fall into that, like, if right wingers are supporting these protesters and Trump are supporting these protesters, then no, maybe the protesters are. I'm expecting this from Twitter idiots, but you're
it's already
saying that
happened. It's already happened from
actual left-wing politicians are giving in to the Iranian government.
Oh yeah, I mean, okay, there's silence for the most part. I haven't heard anything from Merkel. Corbyn, I mean, he's the leader of the opposition. He's always been pro-Iranian. May, I haven't heard anything from. Trudeau is all he's put out is, "Oh, we hope everyone respects human rights." Like, go fuck yourself, Trudeau. I mean,
Trudeau's just like the cute, nice guy kid in class, which is, come on, guys, can we get cool with each other? Like, it's childish, seriously.
Oh yeah, no, but he's an idiot. And then I mean, the only one that came out is Trump is saying, okay, we want, and it's into the vacuum left by the left that Trump can come in and say something. It's like, okay, yeah, fine, at least someone's saying something, like when
And
Trump
I'm gonna be glad. I'm not gonna be like, oh no, only right wingers are speaking about it. Fuck it. I want anyone to speak about
I
it.
don't care.
Wing
Yeah.
and right wing. Anyone speaking out is a good thing. Who cares if he is a right winger?
For this right now, getting the news out, getting the stories out, I'm glad everyone comes out. But to actually go and help and actually do something, I want people who are like, be it the far right or the far left, they're going to be doing it to use this for their advantage. If there's any help going to be coming from the West, I would like it to be people who are going to help to work with the Iranians to see what, not said, okay, this is what you want, this is what we're going to give you, but like go on the ground and say, what do you want? Because I'd be happy in any of these countries. Like, people are like, oh, why do you want to push Western values? First of all, I don't think they're Western values. I think they're universal values. Everyone has a right to all, freedom of speech and religion and from religion and all that.
They should be universal values for everyone, not just for the West, but they're called Western values because that's what they started and that's where they are, simply.
Well, yeah, that's where they're upheld, is in the West.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying is if you want to go, and I'm not talking about nation building or anything like that, but let's say this revolution does, let's say a revolution does come out of this.
No more nation building, please.
Okay, yeah. But if the people take over, right? Let's just say something happens and the people actually do end up taking over. Instead of sending diplomats and Halliburton and whatever over there, send over law professors, send over poli-sci professors, send over people like that to work with the people on the ground, saying, okay, these are the values. Here's how you can structure government. Not tell them how to do it, just show them what people are talking about. Because, like someone who's been under the Ayatollahs since '79. So let's say they were 10 or 11 when the Ayatollahs came in. It's 40 years ago. They're 50 or 60. They're 50 or so now. They've known nothing but that. They might not have, so concepts like free speech and freedom of religion and freedom.
Of course.
Okay. There might just be concepts that they don't 100. And I'm not saying that because I'm not calling these people stupid. I'm just saying they were never taught that information. So I'm saying, if you're going to send someone over to help them, send over people who can be there for a generation or two. So send over, poli-sci grad students, like just graduated legal students, like constitutional lawyers, stuff like that. Yeah.
I don't underestimate Iranians in general, but you're 3 steps ahead of me. My point, my concern right now is putting pressure on the government and the Revolutionary Guard so that they won't start killing people. That's step 1.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's step 1. Yeah, okay, but
the West to we have an eye on you. Don't kill innocent people. Step 1, basically. Is that step done?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not in the least.
See, that's a step 1. Forget about You went to when the people take over. I'm not even expecting that.
Okay, but like I said,
Because
I was
I'm pessimistic not because I want anything harm to Iranians, but I know the Revolutionary Guard will never fall down without taking 100,000 with them.
okay,
Like
but
the
that's
Revolutionary Guard is
but
not just a police department; it's the fucking Revolutionary Guard.
Yeah, but the thing with the Revolutionary Guard, some of them have been. Armin's put out some videos where they, husband and wife, they were both Revolutionary Guards. They burnt their ID papers. There was videos of them putting down their weapons and joining the protesters. Some of them.
So much similar to the Free Syrian Army splitting from the Arab Syrian Army back in the Syrian Revolution.
Okay, but like I said, okay, when I was talking about the like it was a very optimistic, and I was like I said, if something like that would happen, the West shouldn't be looking at this as okay, we'll go implement a government. Right now, like I agree with you, the West or anyone, I don't care if it's the West, I don't care if it's the African nations, I don't care whatever.
Oh, yeah, I'm calling just the West because I'm asking you about what happened.
Yeah, but they should be putting pressure, like you said, on the Revolutionary Guards, the Iranian. Look, let your people protesting. Listen to They should ask the Iranian government. Your people are protesting. Why don't we open up a dialogue with the people and see what they want?
Good. And I asked about the putting pressure and credibility thing because from experience, the only thing that stopped some government regimes from just going out / killing everyone is pressure from outside countries. That actually works. Of course, everything goes to shit afterwards because democracy, and you know what happened all over the Arab Spring except for Tunisia. Yeah. But at least before I even think about any democratic Iran, I just now fearing from the backlash from the Ayatollahs and the Revolutionary Guard. That's what I'm fearing. I'm fearing for innocent protesters dying. Honestly.
You know how like there was a chant that apparently was done when the Ayatollahs took over, and it was like it ended with Islamic Republic, and now the chant now is the same except for Islamic. They changed it to Iranian Republic. So the protesters are chanting this, like, basically, we don't want an Islamic Republic, we want an Iranian Republic. And they're saying, like, death to the mullahs and death to the reformers. They don't want any of this stuff. They're saying we want to go back to being a secular country, but they want to do it on their own way. And they need to be able to come to a way to figure out how to run a secular society based on their needs and how they want it done. You can't have something forced. Like, you can't have another Shah. You can't have another Assad. You can't have you have to let them.
You were cutting out again. Sorry.
Sorry, I said if they get lucky enough to form some sort of secular government, then they should do what they want. It shouldn't be forced on them.
One clarification, and I may be nitpicking. When we're talking about the West's responsibilities, you said not another Shah makes sense. Not another Assad. Assad has nothing to do with the West. Assad is Arab born and everything. Like, Assad was not put there because of the West in any way, shape, or form.
Helped out by the West a bit. Dude, I know Syria and Libya.
Totally
I know Syria and Libya.
The West totally deserted Hafiz al-Assad ever since 1973. 1973, they give in to Sadat, and they give in to Israel, and fuck Syria, and fuck Hafiz al-Assad. The West has been against Hafiz al-Assad started the whole supporting terrorism thing. The West, remember when Reagan put U.S. troops in Lebanon?
Yeah.
And Syria and Hafiz al-Assad was basically doing ops against the Americans, and Reagan just left Lebanon. That was Hafiz al-Assad anti-West, and the West anti-Hafiz al-Assad. There is no way Hafiz al-Assad or Bashar al-Assad are the West's responsibility. And I know I'm nitpicking, but every time people talk about these dictators, they're saying as if the West put them there somehow. And I'm just saying Hafiz al-Assad and Bashar al-Assad are not the West. Go on, sorry.
No. I mean, Just give me a sec. Yeah, no, okay. When I said Assad, I mean I know like we're more closely allied with the um, with the um, with the Soviets.
Yeah,
So
Russian.
yeah. So I mean, but Russia never counted as the West, I guess. But when I said the West, I should have been more clear. But I mean, it was foreign powers. It was
Yeah, foreign powers.
they were a pawn underneath one of the two superpowers at the time. So you can say
Every single leader in the Middle East during the Cold War was a pawn to one of the two superpowers.
Yeah.
There is no independent.
It was done for oil.
Even Nasser wanted a pan-Arab, everything Arab, and he gave in to the Soviet Union.
Yeah, no, but it's not just that. It's everyone wanted oil back then, and that's so. U.S. had Saudi and Yemen and all that. Well, Soviets had South Yemen with the communists down there until the Civil War. But so
not a lot of people know that, by the way. Everyone knows that Germany was split, Vietnam was split, Korea was split. No one remembers that Yemen was split to a communist and a normal state. Everybody forgets about this communist Yemen.
Well, some people, some of us know it.
Some of us know it because you're Yemeni.
Okay, but you know how far removed I am? Like I don't know it because I didn't know that's where my father's. I just remembered from watching it.
You're cutting out again. Obaid, press F5 and it will restart and you will get back in. Just press F5.
I'm on an iPad.
Oh, you're on an iPad. Yeah. See, Apple. I blame Apple. I know. I went too fucking deep into the Cold War, dude. That I've read everything. I just know about it that way, and I was amazed at the first time because at first, what the hell is Yemen split for? Who came to Yemen? But yeah, you were talking about everyone wanting oil, and back then, especially in 1973 and 74, that was the first time Saudi Arabia made a petro blackmail mark on the US. They stopped oil for the first and last time ever, and oil prices, and there were lines of people with cars in the United States 2 weeks later or 1 week later even. So that was like, holy shit, we need to like figure out this in some way and make peace with Israel. But the peace with Israel thing went along great with Egypt and Israel, but it didn't go along in any way with Hafez al-Assad in Israel. The Golan is still Israel. They didn't give up the Golan, they gave up Sinai.
Yeah, the whole Cold War thing. I mean, I remember I was young, I was 6. We moved to Canada when I was 6, but I was 75. So, but they still would talk about the embargo in 73 and 74. I mean, and that's why Carter got on a big kick to try to find alternative sources of energy.
Yep.
Like Carter really started that up in the late 70s, and then when Reagan came in, he put a stop to it and went back to oil. Like just,
Reagan figured I will just guarantee that I'm friends with them for life, and there's no way they're gonna black me anymore.
Yeah, that's about it.
But technically speaking, until now, because not just outporting oil, but because of the petrodollar, Saudi Arabia still have a button to blackmail the West until today. It's just never used. It's never used, but we have to keep on pleasing Saudi Arabia in general without reaching that point of them blackmailing with oil.
I don't think you need to anymore that much. I don't think, especially if the United States and Canada wanted to, the United States and Canada could be self-sufficient in oil. If we didn't sell to anyone else, and Canada only sold to the United States and kept enough for ourselves, I honestly think we wouldn't have to buy much Middle East oil. But as OPEC and all that, we have to buy.
I've heard different opinions about this. I'm not into economics very well, but some of the economists I've heard are talking about like we need Saudi Arabia not just because of literally the oil barrels coming to us. We can depend on our own oil, but we need them to trade their own oil to other countries in dollar. That's the important part, not in any other currency. That's what making the dollar powerful. You know what
Okay,
I mean?
well
It's not just oil barrels. It's Saudi Arabia agreed to trade in petrodollar. That's the main point. From what I
okay.
understood from a 2-hour podcast about economics that had a shitload of terminology that I didn't understand. Just to be clear.
Well, that makes sense. That they want the oil. They want oil spent in dollars. So the U.S. dollar is the currency that's traded around the world, and that brings the dollar up. That's the problem with the Canadian dollar. The Canadian dollar is so tied to
Yep.
oil. As soon as the price of oil goes down, the Canadian dollar plummets. I mean, just a few years back, we were almost at par with the U.S., and now we're at 75 cents. And then I remember at one point in like 2000.
Should I mention the Egyptian pound right now?
No, but at one point in like 2008 or so, we were at 60 cents on the dollar US. And then by 2011 or so, it went up to par. And the oil was cheap. And then as soon as oil started going up again, the Canadian dollar went up again. As soon as oil was high, that's why the Canadian dollar was so high. But then when the oil started dropping, the Canadian dollar started dropping again. Where it's so tied to the price of oil, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that tying somehow is a blackmail part, not just which sucks because everybody keeps talking about this. We have to be dependent on Saudi Arabia just in terminology of energy, and let's start fracking, let's start nuclear, let's start renewable solar, blah blah blah. But it's not just as simple as that. Like, world trade have a lot of buttons Saudi Arabia can push, and Saudi Arabia and Qatar, by the way, not just Saudi Arabia, are so fucking powerful in the economic stage that the West will just keep on pleasing them. And that brings us back to the point, the country that they don't have to please that much is Iran.
Yeah.
Iran is totally into Russia, not into the West. So there is no reason to give in any way. They're not gonna lose anything. Like, it sounds like basically the right wingers are pro the protesters to the point that the left wing is just backlashing in a reactionary way. Like, I've read the article
that's a lot
wrote.
of it. I mean, New York Times even put out an article about that. I think it was New York Times. I could be wrong because I've been reading so much crap lately. It was basically, because Trump supports the protesters, we should be supporting the Ayatollahs. It's like, no.
Oh my God.
Like, let's just put this. I don't want to bring in Godwin's law here or anything like that, but let's just put this.
If
it's
Hitler
the Nazis, it's the Nazis and the Jews, and Trump supporting the Jews that are protesting in the New York Times, just saying no. Well, then we must support the Nazis. It's like, come on.
When it comes to these kind of things, and I use Godwin's law, I talk about the rapes that happened by the Soviet soldiers to German women right after the fall of Berlin. So the Nazis, the remaining Nazis, were against the rape of German women. So I ask the question: do you agree? Do you stand against the rape of German women as the Nazis? You know what I mean? Like, of course I do. Like, you shouldn't be pro Soviet soldiers raping women in Berlin. Either way, even if that's a Nazi position.
Yeah, it was also we looked at what was it? Jesus.
You have a cold dude in your frozen tundra.
You were talking about the Nazi protesters there and stuff. It reminded me of something.
Nazi protesters? Are you calling Iranians Nazis?
Okay, no, not the Nazi protesters. I was speaking with. I had a friend of mine who was Polish, and his parents grew up under German occupation. They were there when the Nazis were there. They were young kids, obviously. They were 10 or 11, and then they grew up under the communists. And they hated
the worst of both worlds.
They hated the communists more than the Nazis. Maybe because
a lot of Eastern Europeans say that, by the way, not just those two.
Because because the communists were there much longer, and it was a much fresher memory. And this is like speaking to them after the fall of communism, but the Germans were something that happened when they were kids.
I've talked to Eastern Europeans, and I heard shit like and I'm not gonna be like defending that position or anything. I'm just relaying information here. Uh, if you're an Eastern European and you were not Jewish, you would hate the communists more than the Nazis.
Yeah, it's
Basically.
yeah, because and I think it's because the communists were there longer and it was fresher, it's newer in the memory. That's why a lot of the Eastern Europeans, they might be going authoritarian, but they don't want to go communist again.
Oh no, never. I mean, right now, if you look at Eastern Europe, it has more anti-communist, pro-West than Western Europe.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Like, if you listen to some speeches by Jeremy Corbyn, he's like almost pro-Soviet Union, dude. It's insane.
Oh, I know. He's insane.
He's fucking insane. But there is no way you would hear someone like that in countries, post-communist countries in Eastern Europe. And it's gonna be, and if we take that metric and move it forward, we can look at a hilarious situation where the only place with Western European Western values and as liberal values will be in Eastern Europe. Meanwhile, Western Europe is either getting more into communism or more into Islam. They're gonna build the Berlin Wall for the totally opposite reason.
Yeah, no, I can see that happening. I mean, like, okay, let's just picture it this way. Let's take best case scenario in Iran. And these protesters managed to win. They managed to create a secular society. And they start espousing the values of the Enlightenment. And that spreads to one or two of the other countries in the region. I'm not talking about the whole thing. So 20 years from now, you could have so-called Western values being upheld, like you said, in Eastern Europe and parts of the Middle East, whereas Western Europe is a shithole. And it's...
I made that point before, but I wanted to clarify it with one bit. In, let's say, 2018 right now, of course, Western Europe is still more Western than the Middle East. But what I'm saying is there is a projection going down in Western Europe from democracy, liberty, everything good. And there's a projection going up in the Middle East. Things are getting better. That's all I'm saying. We're still shittier than the West in every way. But I am seeing things getting better over here while things are getting worse, Islam-wise specifically, in Western Europe. Like, London is becoming shitty to the point that my friend came back to Cairo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Europe is lost, man. I think Europe, there's no will to protect themselves anymore. There's no will to protect their...
Excuse me, Obaid. There's a will to protect Europe, but sadly, they're all fascists.
Yeah. It's like, whatever, whether the...
Have you noticed, Obaid, I want to ask you about this, Have you noticed that the problems you and me and Stefan, Lalo maybe see... Islam, immigration, and everything, the only people taking those problems seriously are alt-right.
Yeah, but that's just it. Like, I don't think, okay, like, whether it's alt-right doing it, if the alt-right is doing it right now, the alt-right is doing it, I think, for two reasons. One, they want to piss off the left.
That's the alt-right trolls. They're just anti-left and want to piss off the left in any way.
Okay. Or they're saying, okay, like, these people are speaking out against Islam and they don't want to have Islamification. They're speaking about women's rights or FGM or rights of speaking out or whatever. And they're like, okay, these are useful tools. We can use these because we hate, that's a brown person religion. We want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
We don't want any part of it. And so that you have that, but I mean, that again, that's because of the void that's left.
Dude, my whole point was bashing the left. I'm not praising the alt-right over here. And when I said alt-right, I differentiate between alt-right and the right wing. The right wing have people who actually care about women's rights and FGM for real. I'm not into this narrative you guys are saying where they're just using every. No. There are
Okay, no,
actual
I
conservatives
don't
who
believe
care
that.
about human rights. Sorry.
I do not believe that in the least, that the right is not. There aren't people on the right that are committed. Unfortunately, again, you only hear most of the rhetoric coming from the far right or someone like Trump. You can't even call Trump right. Trump is just his own little thing.
Yeah.
Trump is not right or left. He's just insane. But so you have that little. But there are people on the right, like he used to be left winger, now he's right winger. Dershowitz. He speaks out. Like even someone like a Ben Shapiro speaking out. And these people stand up for constitutional values. They stand up for the Constitution of the United States. So they're all for equal rights for all people. They're all for, and I have no problem with someone like a Ben Shapiro speaking out in support of the Iranian protesters, because I know he's doing it from a good place. But if I hear Richard Spencer doing it, I kind
That's
of question
why I
what Richard
wanted to
Spencer is
differentiate
doing.
between right wing and alt right, dude.
Yeah.
When I say alt right, I mean white ethno state.
Yeah, no. Okay, look, I agree with you. Like that's why I try to say alt right, far right, and right. Like the right, center, the centrists on the right and the left.
But I wouldn't call like Ben Shapiro types even center right. The right wing, they're conservatives, and there is no problem with that.
No, but he's the problem not far right. I think he's more center right because on certain things he's libertarian.
Oh yeah, but are you gonna call any libertarian like center now? Like libertarians and conservatives always had it like best together, dude.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I'm not just saying like, okay, but he wants government out of marriage. Okay, like I'm just talking about Ben Shapiro. He's saying he doesn't want government to have anything to do with same-sex or
exactly. That's why Ben Shapiro passes the mixed marriage question.
Yeah, he said it should just
because he's against the government enforcing marriage in the first place, if it's same sex or different sex.
Yeah, but he said, if two men and two women want to go off and have a civil union and have the same protections, like so you're considered a next of kin at the hospital, all that kind of stuff. You want all that. He doesn't care. He just doesn't want the government involved. So whereas someone who's far right would be, the far right position is you're opposed to same-sex marriage, you're opposed to abortion, you're opposed to.
Far right. Okay, now I understand you. You're meaning like extremely conservative and going to Christian conservative.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Let's call that far right. Yeah, exactly. Because by the way, the alt right is not Christian. The alt right maybe loves Christianity as to hate to Islam, but it's not your typical Christian conservatives right there. Most of them are atheists.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just till you know.
They're yeah. Okay, look, trust me. Don't get me wrong. I don't. Aside from the ethno state, I don't put much else on the alt right. The alt right don't have anything else except for the whites are the best, and we want to make a white ethno state and fuck everyone else. That's what the alt right's all about.
Yeah, but let's take the positions of the alt right and replace every word white with Western values, and let that group exist. I want that group to exist. And that group doesn't exist because the centrists are not a political party enough to, the left and the progressives are abandoning Western values, the right is abandoning Western values, we are of course there is the Rubin, the classical liberal, but this is not a political party, dude. You know what I mean?
No,
we keep saying a lot of center left and center right are sane people, normal people. Only the fringes happen on Twitter. The Antifa and the alt-right are the insane 1% on this side, 1% on this side. But when push comes to shove and there is two candidates, one of them is going to be progressive and one of them is going to be Trump.
Yeah. But what pisses me off, though, is even all this stuff, they're they're quiet, they're the silent majority. I'm like, screw you. Get up off your ass and start speaking up. Like, the silent majority isn't doing anything. The silent majority is going to let me hang.
Exactly. But in defense of the silent majority, the two-party system is already there, dude. What the hell? Should they support a third party candidate?
I think this last election, the Libertarians got some traction. I think in another election
They
or
got
two.
some attraction, but then what is Aleppo?
Yeah, okay, fine. But what I'm saying is, if that hadn't happened, I think he would have gotten more of the vote. But what I'm saying, give it a couple more elections, and you keep.
I know.
You keep putting out.
I think I have your same wish for a third party libertarian candidate, but I'm expecting a certain attack from the left. The attack will be as follows: guys, fuck that libertarian third party candidate, because if we're gonna split the vote, Trump will win.
Yeah. That's. But you see, if you get the right libertarian candidate, you will feel
Right wingers will vote for him too.
If you want to read a really interesting book, it's called it's by Nick Cohen. It's called What's Left: How the Left Has Lost Its Way, and it focuses more on how the left in the West, mainly in Europe, supported Saddam as opposed to Western imperialism, because they were fighting Western imperialism. And it was right after the fall of communism, because so the left was communist and they didn't have anything left, so they were disheartened and they were disillusioned, and all they had was this anti-imperialism and anti-Western feeling, and the only people they could put that into was Saddam and the Baathists.
And by the way, that anti-imperialist feeling may be the same reason they're supporting an Iranian government.
That's what I'm saying. If you read Nick Cohen's book, a lot of that applies to what's going on in Iran right now. Because I mean, it's I don't know. I think Cohen's only written like 3 or 4 books, but I've read 2 of them. One is that What's Left. The other one's called You Can't Read This Book, and it was about the satanic verses, the whole satanic verses thing. But I mean, like What's Left chronicles the failures of the left, how it went from individual freedoms and liberty and individual, valuing the individual into a collective groupthink, and anything that was anti-West was good. If you haven't read it, I think you'd like it. But like I said, it
I know about it, by the way, because I heard him on a podcast once.
Yeah.
And just to make another point, Obaid, when I say in defense of the silent majority, we're gonna be optimistic. People are realizing the bullshit from the progressives. People are realizing the bullshit from the Richard Spencers of the world. People are, and I'm gonna be like talking positively as the mainstream opinion. But I have trust in Americans and in people in the West in that way, as individual people. But I don't have any trust in the DNC picking a candidate that is center-left, normal, sane human being. You know what I mean?
Okay, that's why I said to people who were, but people asked me, well, if you were in the States, who would you vote for? I said, if that 48%, if that 48% hadn't voted, who didn't vote, there's only like 40 to 48% that didn't vote. If they'd gotten up off their ass, went to the polling place, and spoiled their ballot, that's what I would have done. I would have spoiled my ballot. I would have said, every choice you're giving me is worthless. Like, you just sitting at home and not voting, they're going to take that into consideration. They're going to say half the people won't vote. That's it. That's fine.
But what's the difference between spoiling the ballot and not voting? They already know the fact of the matter is half the people didn't vote.
Here's the difference.
Sorry, you're cutting out. Repeat. Here is the difference. Repeat from here is the difference.
If that 48% or 40% even went up, got up off their asses, went to the polling place, did that effort to spoil the ballots, you're saying, that either of your choices are horrible. Give me better choices. Send a message. If everyone who didn't vote did that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, but Obaid, you're assuming there are normal, sane people in the DNC picking up candidates and looking at the people. The best way for a message to be sent to the Democrats is Trump winning in the first place. If Trump won, that should be alone of itself a message to the DNC and the Democrats: get your shit together. And instead of getting their shit together, they're doubling down on all the bullshit they're doing that made them lose in the first place.
Yeah, but that's just it. They didn't get the message. I think they would have.
There's no, they zero got the message. Have you seen 2017? 2017, to me, is like the Democrats doubling down on the exact same reasons they've lost in the first place.
No, I agree with you 100%. The Democrats aren't doing anything to fix it. They're just like saying they're just going further and further left. No, pull yourself in, come into the goddamn center. But like I said, I think if everyone who had not voted, if they'd just gone and done that and spoiled their ballot or just voted down ticket, so you don't vote for the president, you vote for the senator, the Congress,
or voted for Gary Johnson.
Yeah, voted for anyone. I don't care, but you just show that these two people are not worth it. It would have gotten the message across to both the parties. Because look, Trump was not a sane choice either. I would have been happier with Cruz. I would have been happier with Rubio. If one of those.
Oh yeah, any one of those. But when we're talking about the 2016 election, it's more of an anti-Hillary Clinton vote, not a Trump vote.
Yeah, that's the same thing. I mean,
it's not about Ted Cruz.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is the RNC did not pick a great candidate either.
Oh yeah, I know. Dude, like how many times this is where I get boggled down with any semi left-wing person, because when the 2016 elections happened, of course after the foreign policy from Hillary, I would have no reason to want Hillary to win in any way. But everyone thought I was like right-wing, and I'm like far-right Trump. And it was weird to me because how can a right-wing person like me want a fucking socialist win in the primary? Like, I just wanted Hillary out. I didn't even care if Bernie was president of the United States. Seriously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't Trump, and I've explained this a billion times, and no matter what, I am a Trump supporter and I'm a Trump fan. But whenever there's a corner and it's Hillary Clinton or Trump, of course it's Trump. And we're in 2018. We shouldn't even get into this again. But I'm saying if the DNC in 2020 had a candidate like Tulsi Gabbard, the Democrats will win. If they had another Clinton, okay, it's 8 years of Trump. Of course, there's no way a third-party candidate could win. Sorry to spoil the butterflies and rainbows dream of a third party. It will forever be a two-party system. It's said that way by the debates, by not getting a third-party member into the debates. The system is authoritarian for the two parties in the first place. The system is set up that way, Obaid, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like it's they call it a buy monopoly. What's not a buy monopoly? It's a buy.
A duopoly.
What?
Duopoly.
Duopoly. Yeah, it's a duopoly. Like the Gary Johnson or third party or whatever, that nonsense. My only hope is simply, we literally have Lalo right now. My only hope is simply to the DNC to get their shit together. I have no hope for a third party candidate. Lalo. No Lalo? Okay.
I don't know.
So do you have hope for the DNC? Seriously? I don't, by the way. I have zero hope.
Thank you for inviting me to this meeting of gay Islam.
I have gay Islam all the way. You know how Islam is progressive.
We're
I've shared a meme with this sign saying LGBT Muslims meet at the roof, and then I put the next to the meme, gays getting thrown off roofs in the Middle East.
We're changing our group name to the Pink Crescent.
Lalo. We're gonna ask you a question.
Ask me.
Do you think there's a hope for a third party candidate in the center if the progressives keep going?
There's no center. What the hell are you? There's no center. What are you guys talking about?
Okay. Whatever.
Is it even America? Are you guys talking about America?
Yeah, let's talk about America. I'm not going to do the horseshoe theory. There is a center or a classical liberal hashtag. I'm not doing that. I'm saying center left or center right. You know what I mean, Lalo?
Come on. Be right back in a couple of minutes, guys.
Take your time, Obaid.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Now,
I think everybody's way too. Even if you're, I understand what you mean. Even if you're talking center right or center left, I think that's a tiny minority now of the United States. I think everyone's
Even
really
if it's a
extreme.
majority, we're talking about the people in power in the DNC and the RNC picking candidates, or a third party going in. So, if it will remain a two-party system, do you have hope that the DNC will get its shit together and get the message, holy shit, Trump won in 2016,
It's
to put out a fucking reasonable candidate?
I don't know. I have no idea what they're thinking. Like it's really,
Me either. I'm so confused.
I mean, I don't know if they're gonna think, like for example, let's say the Republicans, they might think like their thinking could go two ways. I think it could go like, oh, Trump's over the top, really extreme way of talking got him the presidency, so we should do it again. Or they could be thinking, this guy is so over the top, his approval ratings are shit, and he's trying to pass a bunch of policies we don't even like because the Republicans don't even like the policies of Trump. And but he won, so we have to see how we can win, but still push our policies. And then the DNC have to I don't know if they realize their mistakes. Like if they're like, oh, we tried to win just on name recognition because it's Hillary Clinton and because she's a woman, and tried to push identity politics and name recognition and not real change. And this in her ultra held back way of talking versus Trump's over the top rhetoric, which won, is she has no flamboyancy, she has no personality. Do they realize this stuff? I don't know. I don't know
Now,
if these people
we have
realize
evidence from 2017.
You have to remember, Omar, that most of the people in the Congress of the United States, especially the Senate, are really old, right? Like they don't understand millennials.
I'm sure everybody in the Senate, if they looked at Twitter or memes or YouTubers and the alt-right or whatever, they will have no fucking idea what's going on. I'm sure.
Yeah, like when they hear that Trump won because the alt-right and Twitter and Facebook and blah, 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 and memes and this and that, they're like, what? I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. They have no idea. Like every congressman's Twitter, I bet you every congressman's Twitter is run by some intern, right? Yeah. I bet they've never even seen their Twitter before.
And when you tell them the reason Trump using his own Twitter and saying bullshit makes him more genuine than old guard politicians, they would think you're insane because Trump is saying bullshit.
Did you see his tweets today? It's so funny. I'm like
thing I heard was the nuclear button is my nuclear button is bigger than your nuclear button.
The newest ones are pretty awesome. I gotta say, like they're so like I don't know, like I think he might be losing his mind. Like somebody I think suggested that he might have like onset of Alzheimer's or something like that. I think it might be true.
So is he wrote concerning North Korea?
No. This is just I don't know. It's just crazy shit. Listen, okay, he says, actually, throughout my life, my two greatest assets have been my mental stability and being like really smart. Crooked Hillary played. I'm not kidding. And he said he said, and being like really smart.
Okay, you got trolled, Lalo, I think.
And he said, crooked Hillary Clinton also played these cards very hard, and everyone knows went down in flames. I went from being very, all in capitals, very successful businessman to top TV star, to president of the United States on my first try. I think
my God,
that would qualify.
I think that
listen,
call me as not smart, but genius. And
says,
a very people genius at that.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's crazy, right? It reads like a 10-year-old writing this shit. See, but the thing is, Omar, when people say he's trolling, right?
The 4D chess people?
No, but here's the thing. It's technically impossible to be the president of the United States and write a trollish tweet. You can't do it. For example, let me explain what I mean. Like, for example, if you're in an office, right? And the boss says to a female person who works under him, he says, "Hey baby, you got really nice tits," right? If he says that, can he excuse that by saying, "Hey, I was just trolling"?
No, he can't.
Right. So exactly, that's the point. You can't. There are situations where it doesn't matter even if you think you're trolling. it's impossible
Exactly,
to troll.
but
right?
in your example, Lalo, in your example, the HR department of that company is also saying, "Don't worry, guys, he's just trolling."
Well, no. I mean, it's not exactly an HR. The point is that the woman took that as an offense, and it doesn't matter if he was trolling or not. And in the case of the president,
maybe, as you said, maybe North Korea would take something as an offense, and it doesn't matter if he's trolling.
Well, I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like North Korea, when some 4chan asshole says, "Oh, he's just trolling," well, does North Korea take that as a like he's just? Do they even understand that concept? Probably not. So it doesn't matter. There's things you can't say when you have a certain position.